Hi, so my name is Dolan, and I'm just wondering if anyone knew what bagpipes were. Okay, so I think most of you guys maybe seen them at St. Patrick's Day parade, or maybe a funeral for a fireman or a police officer. But basically, what I'm going to talk about is the Great Highland bagpipes, because the bagpipes have been around for a long time. They're all through Europe, but they mostly came what most people believe is the Middle East, which is modern day Iraq. And but to highlight some of the things I'm going to talk about, the bagpipes' long history, and the Great Highland bagpipes is what I'm going to show and play for you today. And also how they work their way through the Scottish clans, and how the Scots have brought them all over the world through the British Empire. And I'm also going to talk about how the Great Highland bagpipes are the most recognized bagpipes. So a little history of the bagpipes. Like I said, they were what most people believe they came from the Middle East. They show them in Egypt. The Emperor Nero has been recorded as being a great bagpipe player. But Julius Caesar actually used the bagpipes against the Britons, the early Britons, to scare them off. And what the Britons did is they took these bagpipes and incorporated. They thought they were a magical instrument, and they would use them, and they made their way up to Scotland, up into the Highlands. So there's very different types of bagpipes. And the early bagpipes were just a bag, a blowpipe, and a little chanter that they would play with. And with the Scotland Highland bagpipes, pretty much evolved into what you have here. And they would be made out of elk's hide, was the animal skin that they used. And a lot of the other countries use different. They use goat skin, or goat's hide, or other type of thing. And they usually had one drone, and these are your drones. And so the Celts are the indigenous group to the British Islands. They incorporated the harp, but when the bagpipes came around, the Scots had started using the bagpipes as their main instrument. And the Scottish clans, what they would do is it was a revered position, whereas the bagpiper. So they assigned certain families to play the bagpipes for them. And the bagpiper would wake up the whole castle to a morning tune. He would also play for dinner and special occasions. Whereas other places in Europe, the bagpipes were mostly for dances and festival type of atmosphere. The bagpipes in Scotland were used as an honored position where they would play specifically for the hierarchy of the Scottish clans. And they also made their way into warfare. They would lead the troops into war, and also they had retreat songs that would signal the infantry to retreat. The Great Highland bagpipes, I'm going to show you guys one more time, is that this is your blowpipe. This is called your chanters with the melodies played on. And then we have our three drones. Right? We have our two tenors and we have our bass drone here. And the one thing with the Scottish bagpipes would do is they have a distinct sound compared to some of the other bagpipes. They have a very loud sound to them, so they can be heard in warfare. And it's the shrill that scared off a lot of their enemies in warfare and stuff. The last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is how the Scottish regiments in the British Empire brought the bagpipes around the world. You'll see bagpipes, particularly the Great Highland bagpipes in Pakistan. You'll see them in the African colonies that used to be colonized by the British Empire. You'll see them in Thailand. And a lot of these, because the British were present there so early on, a lot of the people would take on these bagpipes to either change them to their own forms use their own type of animal skins for the bags and incorporate their own type of drones, either 1 drone, 2 drones, sometimes 5 drones. But Pakistan has their own bagpipe band. Hong Kong, which the British were over there, they had their very well bagpipe band. They're ranked number 3 in the world. There's lots of competitions in the bagpipe world. But through this, after 1745, when the English defeated Scotland, they outlawed the Great Highland bagpipes. They called it an instrument of war. And they also outlawed the tartan, the kilt. The Scots were not allowed to wear their kilts anymore. And so they incorporated the Scottish into the British Empire. But what they allowed the Scots to have is their own military regiment. So you had the Royal Highlanders, you had the Black Watch, who saw towards duty here in the Revolutionary War. The Black Watch fought against the Americans here. And but what the Scots did is they brought the bagpipes with them. And they would, a lot of the indigenous people to wherever colonies they were would so awed by the sound of the Great Highland bagpipes that they incorporated them into their own society. So the Great Highland bagpipes are the most recognized bagpipes in the world. And you see that the Irish also took them on. So when the Irish also came here, you see them in the St. Paddy's Day parade. The Irish were so involved in the police force and the firemen that during funerals or any ceremonies, the bagpipes are usually used for these type of ceremonies. And so the bagpipes, to go back, aren't just a Scottish or Irish thing. They have a very long history, and what people think is from the Middle East or Egypt, and it's in a lot of different cultures are the bagpipes. But what the Scots did is they, being part of the British Empire, brought it all over the world. And so I think for a time I'll play you a song. Any requests for a song?
Any requests for a bagpipe song?
So I'm gonna play one song, and I know these are very loud, and I'll stop after that first song. And if you guys would like me to play again, I'll do one more song after that. Okay? So the song I'm gonna play is it's called Minstrel Boy. It's an Irish tune.